makers! My name is Joe Clark of Space Cadet Codes, and today I am going to show you how to do something that involves no programming whatsoever. Aren't you guys lucky? So today we're going to use a LilyTwinkle, and we are going to modify this mask into a sparkling midnight sky mask for a masquerade ball. Now this is just a really cheap mask from a Halloween store. I took the elastic off of it so I could work with it a little easier. But there's really nothing special about this. I think I got it at an after Halloween sale about like 4 or 5 years ago. And I use it sometimes for masquerades. And we're going to spiff it up today to make it really cool looking. And make ourselves the Belle of the ball or the Beau of the ball, however you choose to identify yourself. So this is what we're doing. And I will go over the parts list with you guys now. Alright, so here we go. Aside from the masquerade mask, the ever so important masquerade mask, we have an array of other items, and the parts list will be listed in the description. We have our regular thread, which we are just going to use black thread to match the mask. So you want just regular thread to match whatever mask you're doing. This is to attach everything to the mask itself. You'll want the LilyTwinkle. Right here, this is it. This is all it is. It's just this tiny little board. There's no programming whatsoever. It does random flash and fades on all of the pins, and it looks really cool, actually. It's pretty nice. You can tell it's a twinkle because it says so on the back. It's got both the twinkle and the tiny. They are the same board. They're just programmed differently. So I have both twinkles and tinies, and I'm like excited. I want to use the twinkle today, but I like the tiny, and I'm still thinking of a project to do with that to show you guys how to use that. We have our coin cell battery, our coin cell holder, which has a switch on it. Turns on, turns off. Very useful, very helpful. We definitely want this. And of course, inside of it, we have our battery. This is just a simple CR2032. So, you can buy these from the grocery store in the battery aisle. They are really easy to get a hold of, and they are great. I think that they cost like maybe $4 at most, so they're really inexpensive. So really easy to get a hold of. Don't have to worry about crazy parts or anything like that. And of course, the coin cell holder. There's those two parts. Our conductive thread, very important. This is our wire for this project. If I can get it to come undone, I will pull this one out instead. This is our wire. It is uninsulated, so we are going to be using nail polish to insulate our wire. So this is just regular Avon brand nail polish, just a base coat, just clear nail polish for using this. And this is what we're going to use to insulate the wires. So this is great. If you do not have nail polish for whatever reason, you're not the nail painting type, then you can use acrylic paint. Just regular acrylic paint from the craft store. And it will work fine. It's just nail polish dries faster. That's why we're using it. Sewing needle, ever so important. You want a sewing needle with a wide eye on it. And I don't know if you guys can focus on this, but there is a wide eye on here that you can sort of see through here. And it is so that this thread, which is very coarse and thick, can go through it. So you want the wide eye. And last, also very important, ever so important, LED. Let me show you one that's not painted over. I painted some of these to help insulate them. So here is the LED. These are lily pad LEDs. They are sewable, so they're great little things. They are basically idiot proof. They never, ever, 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 ever seem to explode on me, no matter how much I mess them up. Unlike these guys, which are my regular LEDs, these guys are always blowing up on me. They're always dying. But they are a little expensive, these little LEDs, but we do want them, so I do recommend them for this project, unless you are an experienced electrician and know how to hook up resistors, because these have the resistors already soldered onto them. That's this little black thing up here. So the LED is the yellow thing down here. The black thing up here is the resistor. You need the resistor on it, but there are a couple of issues with having the resistor already on the LED. because we can only sew these in parallel and we can only hook up 2. Whereas if we didn't have the resistor on these LEDs, we could hook up like 20 in a row or something crazy like that. So that's important, and not 20, I'm exaggerating. So that's important to note. We are only going to be able to use 8 because there are only 4 pins on the LilyTwinkle. So 8 LEDs is what you need, so about 2 packs with 2 left over in case you do decide you want to play with them and do something else. Seam ripper. Very handy for getting in close to the LEDs and ripping them out as we need to. Hopefully we won't need this one too much. And last but not least, over here in the corner, we have my best friend, the multimeter. So the multimeter is basically a good investment. It's a really good investment if you are planning to get into e-textiles, electronics, Arduino, up in your cosplay game, whatever you're doing. You want to be a maker, you need one of these. So this one's probably about 15 bucks from Home Depot. I think that's how much I paid when I got it. And it is a digital multimeter. It does voltage, it does resistance, it also does connectivity. So we like the sound of these wires when you hold the leads together. Here is our this is our negative lead. Here's our positive lead right here. And when we touch them together, the beautiful sound of a beep. So this will help us out a lot. This is what we're going to use today, is this connectivity mode. We are going to do a little bit with voltages, but mainly the connectivity mode because it's going to tell us when our wires are crossed, which is going to happen kind of a lot. So that is everything. That's our parts list. And once again, those will be down in the description. So once you have gathered up everything and you are ready to begin, we are going to start by attaching the lily pad and the coin cell holder onto the mask. So I'm going to put my coin cell holder, whoops, as I lose it. I'm going to put my coin cell holder up here. So here's the eye, here's the nose. Here's where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to put it up here. And we want it to be such that the right side of the coin cell holder, where the battery goes in, is facing away. So this is the back side of the mask right here. I know you can't tell because, you know, there's no sparkles or anything. The sparkles don't really show up on the back side. So we are going to put the coin cell holder on the back side. And we're just going to use a little bit of regular thread to secure it. But first we need to hook it up to the twinkle. So I'm going to put the twinkle like right here. So what I want to talk to you guys about real quick is what is on the coin cell holder and the twinkle. So if you look at the coin cell holder and look at yours, you can see that up here are our negative leads and down here are our positive leads. So by the switch, positive leads, up here, negative leads. That is important because this is basically your ground and this is your power, and we're going to use it to power the lily pad. So on the lily pad, and this is easy. This whole thing's pretty easy, actually. This is pretty easy. The lily pad actually has a plus, and let me see if I can move this over to the center and see if it'll focus on it. You know you want to focus on it. Alright, so it's not going to focus on it because webcams suck. But basically, so this is the twinkle, and it has a negative lead and a positive lead down here. So you can see on here, will it focus now? So you can see on here at the bottom, there's the positive and the negative, negative, positive. And then there's 4 pins on the top. So 4 pins on the top here, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Each one of these does the same thing. So it doesn't matter which one you hook it to, just make sure you hook them up so that you have good connectivity on them. So what we want to do first off is we want to hook the plus side of the lily pad to the plus side of the coin cell holder, and the negative side of the coin cell holder to the negative side of the lily pad. So that's what we're going to do first. So we're just going to take our conductive thread and we are going to trim it, thread our needle, And this is more like macrame than anything else, really. It's more like macrame than sewing. Because basically what we're going to do is we're just going to make a knot by looping through a couple of times. And I'm just going to make a knot on the back side to hold it in place. Now, if you're working with a cloth mask, you really don't need to insulate your wires. You're just going to basically sew on the opposite side of the mask as which side you're going to have your LEDs showing. But since we are working with this metal plastic thing, cheap mask, that I've been fussing with all day, this really cheap mask, really, we are going to be kind of a little more careful with it. Alright, this is the plus side, and we hook it up to the plus side of the lily pad. And I'm going to hook these up really close to each other. At least on the positive side. On the negative side, I'm going to give it a little more room because we're going to hook all our LEDs up to the negative side as well. So holding this up so you can see it. I have the lily pad right here and the coin cell holder here, and this is the plus side over here, hooked up to the plus side over here, and I'm going to trim my wires. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing on the negative side. And we want to make sure we have a nice, sturdy connection between these. So we're really not worried about how much thread we're using, as long as everything is pulled taut. So I'm going to go ahead and redo my thread here. So here we have the coin cell holder and the lily pad hooked up to each other. And we are just going to quickly coat it in nail polish. So coat the wires in nail polish, being especially careful of the positive wires. Trim any excess wires you have because you do not want a cross connection here. So we will leave that to dry for a second while we move on to our next step. So our next step is to go ahead and attach the LEDs. On these LEDs, you can see that the negative side is up and the positive side is down. Now the way we are going to hook these up is the positive side is going to go to either pin 0, 1, 2, or 3 to lead 0, 1, 2, or 3, and the negative side is going to go to ground. Now we're going to do this such that 2 LEDs are connected to each pin. So I will put up a diagram kind of showing what I mean with the LEDs on my blog so you can see what's going on there. SpaceCadetJoe@tumblr.com or .tumblr.com. So that is my Tumblr. Feel free to follow it, and I will put this whole project up on there, including the links to the wiring diagram for what we're going to do. So this is what we're working with here. Positive down here, negative up here. We want to hook up the positive side to one of the pins to one of the pins on the Lily Pad Tiny, and then we're going to hook the negative side up to either the ground here, here, or here on the Lily Pad Tiny. So any of those negatives will work. So anywhere there's a negative, hook it up. All the negatives are going to hook up in the same place. Now I'm going to coat the back side of this with nail polish too. Alright, so this is pretty stiff now. It's just about dry, just about ready to be worked with again. But still leaving it taut so that it gets its things, gets its space. Okay, so we're going to hook up the negatives. And to do this, we want to hook them up where they're going to go on the mask. There's the negative. We'll just go ahead and pass it through. Check how... Okay, so this is dried now. So now that we've hooked up one LED to the negative side, we are going to go ahead and put this onto our mask. Now this is where I'm putting it on. This is where I'm putting it on, up here, so that the coin cell holder is up top and the Lily Pad Tiny, or the Lily Pad Twinkle, is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just sew it on with some of the regular thread. And we do want it to still be loose, so the only one I'm going to sew on, actually the only lead I'm going to sew on, is going to be the positive of the coin cell battery that is not hooked up to the Tiny. So the first one I want to hook up, I'm going to hook up here. So you can see where I'm hooking it up. And do not wrap your conductive thread around the mask. Because the mask is metal, it is not well insulated. You will end up with all sorts of fun problems because you will create a short. And shorts are not good. We do not like shorts. Alright. So before we sew the LED into place using our black thread, we are going to hook up to ground again. And we are just going to be very careful as we do this. Oh, and one thing I forgot to point out. Here's the back of the mask. This is the back of the LED. Here's the front of the mask. This is the front of the LED. Right here. Okay, so we have completed a circuit. So we have over here the coin cell. We have the tiny, or the twinkle. Sorry, I was working with the tiny earlier today. And we have the LED itself. Now the LED is hooked up, so the positive side is currently hooked up to pin 0, and the negative side is currently hooked up to ground on the tiny twinkle. Sorry, I will get it right one of these days. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure it works. So we're going to take our battery, and we are just going to slide it in. Now the way the batteries go in is the positive side goes up. So just slide it in so the positive side is up inside the coin cell. Turn it on. And hope for glowing lights. So it's not so unusual, actually, for us to not get glowing lights. It's a little disappointing when you hook it up and you work so hard and it doesn't glow, but that is why we have the handy-dandy multimeter. So hooking it up into connectivity mode, which is the one that makes noise, we are going to double check our connectivity. So power is working properly, but there is a short to ground. Uh-oh, that's not so good. So there is a short to ground right now, and that is why the thing is not running. So we are going to investigate. And the culprit is fairly easy to find. If you look on the back side here, we have a little bit of excess thread that I'm just going to trim. And let's check again. So power, there is still a short to ground. So it does not look like the problem is with the twinkle. We want to make sure all of our threads are separated from each other. So there is no connection at ground right now. So there it is. There's our connection at ground. And we do not have a connection at power. That's good. We don't want a connection at power. So from power on the coin cell to the ground, we do have a connection. That's not so good. We don't want that. So I'm going to investigate, and I will come back and tell you what I find. Okay, so I debugged for about an hour or so, and I found the source of my error, which was actually crossed wires. So as you can see now, the LED is kind of flickering on and off at random. And this is what we want. We want the whole mask to do that. So we are going to hook up LEDs on all of them. And while I was at it, I actually coated the wires with nail polish. So they are a little more stiff now. I still have not really glued down the lily pad because I still need it. I still need to use it. So it is still good. And the coin cell is still settled down. So next what we want to do is for the same one, we are going to hook into, for the same LED, hang on, let me grab my thread. Take your conductive thread and thread your needle. And we are going to hook up a second LED to the first LED. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my second LED over here. So my first one's right here. My second one's going to be over here. And the reason for that is quite simple. So I want that to be a little bit different. Alright, let me turn this off. Oh, it is turned off. So you may see your LEDs turn on. The reason why mine is turning on at the moment, even though you guys can't really see it, the reason why mine is turning on at the moment is quite simply because I've got my wire across the battery. If I take the battery out for the time being, then my LED will stop going off. But like I said, these things are basically idiot proof, so if the light doesn't bother you, don't worry about it. Alright, so we've got a secure connection to the positive side of the LED. Okay, so secure connection to the positive side of the LED. And we are just going to hook up that positive side of the LED to the positive side of our second LED. So all my LEDs are white. That's how I'm doing my mask. But if you want to use different colors, knock yourself out. And if you need to, use a little bit of your regular thread to attach the LED to the wire, to the mask. Not too much though, not too tightly, because you want to be able to work with this thread. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just because my thread is tangling like nobody's business. And I do want my LED to be attached where it needs to be. Again, only use the regular wire, or the regular thread, the non-conductive thread, to attach to the mask if you're working with one of these metal masks. Okay, so if everything worked out correctly, then this is the way the mask should look right now. So we have a few wires here. We have our LED here, and we have another LED over here. And those are going to be the two that are connected to the same pin, which is why they blink at the same time. They're connected to the same pin. Now the other 6, go ahead and attach them around and see what happens when you're done. So remember to use the connectivity. Remember that if anything on this lily pad here, if anything on the lily pad touches each other, it will short the whole lily pad. This includes the 2 resistors on here. That's what I actually spent the last hour debugging, was we had a wire touching one of these resistors, or a thread touching the resistor, and that caused it to short out. So these 2 resistors, they're the little black things that are at the end of the chip. So this is the chip right here, and then the 2 resistors are right here. So go ahead and attach the rest of your LEDs. Remember, you only want 2 on each pin, so 8 total. So we have 2 of them currently attached, and we're going to go ahead and attach the rest. Good morning. So I left this to dry overnight. I finished off putting all of the LEDs in and coated it all in nail polish and left it to dry. I ran into some errors. The biggest error is that I accidentally knotted some of these electrical threads to the metal mask. And like I said, don't do that. You really don't want to do that. It will not work. The other thing is I overvolted the lily pad, so I had to go through and fix that. I will put a full list of everything that I did and how to troubleshoot on my blog. So you guys can take a look at that and see what's going on there and hopefully get some troubleshooting help. Of course, shoot me an ask if you can't. So this is the finished mask. the back side of it anyway. You can see that there's lily pads over here, or there's little LEDs over here. See if I can point to it. Little ones over there. And now that it's dry, it's actually ready to be shown off. So one thing you might want to do is make sure your battery is full, because mine drained while I was doing this project. So let's turn it on. So there you can see there's a little bit of twinkle up there, a little bit of twinkle there. Let me hold it back. Hopefully you can see all of it. It's kind of bright in here, so you may not be able to see it. So there's one down here. There's some up here. Of course, multiples are flashing at the same time, and they just do a twinkle fade. So this is how the lily pad twinkle works. I hope it was worth it. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon with my next tutorial. So yeah, shoot me any questions you have. Remember to hit that subscribe button. That is the easiest way to support me and keep me making cool stuff like this, and also teaching people how to make cool stuff like this. So please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button if you like this video. Other than that, thank you so much.